Hey, we're back for season 3, and it's the show where all we're going to do is talk about CM Punk for the whole season. And we're not even going to mention anyone else unless they're involved with CM Punk. Is not what we're doing. We're actually going to talk about everything else as well. But how you doing, Matt?
Doing great. Doing great.
We had the intention of starting the the season last week, but we were stuck in wedding mode. We were a good friend of ours. It got married last weekend in Wyoming, and we were kind of we didn't have as much free time as we thought we would. We'll just put it that way.
To say the least. That it was a pretty hectic time to be in a bridal party. So
Yeah. And we got to experience being in the rain and in the rain for a wedding, and that was always also great. But beyond that, let's talk about some wrestling. So, I mean, we can't. I mean, I already talked about it at the top, but we can't even just really mention like all the time since we've been gone without kind of mentioning CM Punk returned. I feel like if you were the most casual wrestling fan, you probably heard about it at this point, or a lapsed fan. As a friend of mine, Adam, said that his savior returned last Friday, so which might be a little dramatic, but I mean he hasn't really watched wrestling he's watched some of the bigger events, but he hasn't watched wrestling since CM Punk left. So and now he's watching Dynamite and Rampage every show. So I'm wondering how many people are coming back.
yeah, the apparently it is the most viewed video clip in the history of the ESPN app.
Wow.
It has overtaken every sports moment that's ever existed since the app became a thing, which is absolutely nuts. But yeah, it's wild. So I mean, it's great for the sport. I mean, it's funny to me that both Dynamite and Rampage, that when the intros start, there's just like that one clip of CM Punk coming down the ramp, like that they added to the intros. He's not like glowing orange like everybody else in the Rampage intro or anything. But yeah, I mean, it's. I didn't watch wrestling during CM Punk's rise to whatever kind of messiah like status people have given him. So I'm excited to see what all the hype's about. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe this means that CM Punk chants will move solely to AEW, and I can get through a WWE house show without them overwhelming a Roman Reigns house show match with CM Punk chants.
I mean, I don't think you'll get, if you were like to live in the Chicago area, you probably wouldn't be able to get around it. But yeah, it's nice to hear CM Punk chants that are actual like real chants and not a taunt at WWE like they've been for the last several years. So I've had a very negative connection with CM Punk just because that's how it's been when we go to the shows. I just wanted to watch the show. Even if there's something dumb happening, like I don't want to get involved in that because I didn't understand it really, and I do know the whole thing with his infection and him going on Cole Cabana's podcast, and it's to be honest, with him and Colt kind of having a falling out and suing each other, that kind of like also put a damper on my thoughts on CM Punk, but he's good on promo. He's really great, and I can see why people like him. I do just to solve everything for me. I would love to know that like CM Punk and Colt reach some kind of like, I don't know, understanding at least, because they are sharing a locker room now. But I don't know. It's I did notice Colt was conveniently not at AEW last Friday. He was at the Gathering of the Juggalos, which is a weird place to be. But he was commentating on there. Apparently, a gathering of the Juggalos where they had a battle royal, and just some naked lady decided to get in the middle of the battle royal. She just entered from like the fans. So
Did she win?
no, she didn't win. Uh, but that's how it goes. So we had a lot of wrestling last weekend. SummerSlam weekend. We had the aforementioned debut of CM Punk on Rampage on the second episode of Rampage. We had an NXT takeover. What was your favorite? If you had to choose a favorite from the weekend, what would you say it was?
Um, I honestly, I think the big moment for me is best match probably Walter and Dragonov was excellent. Um, I I gotta say the big moment for me was just Christian Cage taking that Impact belt.
Yeah, yeah, that was on the first episode of Dynamite, and that's that was a pretty great match. Um, and I'd have to, honestly, I have to agree the same thing. Like that Dragunov and Walter match was fantastic, and I kind of wonder where that leads. Both, I mean, first of all, Walter dropped that championship. He lost, or
Yeah.
remember that correctly, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Um, so that's kind of big news. We're going to talk about a little bit about NXT here in a moment, but I think him maybe being in NXT a little bit more might be a good change. And he's a big guy.
Yeah.
Uh, and he's pretty young. I'm not entirely sure how young he is, but he is on the younger side.
Yeah.
So
I think more than anything, it was to put the UK belt on somebody that will stay UK for an extended period. Where I really do think that they want Walter to be on the domestic show pretty regularly. Um, they're kind of going to need him if all the reports are to be believed.
well, we'll jump on that in a second, but we had a couple big returns. We had Brock Lesnar with
Jacked up
a
Dean Ambrose.
returning after a kind of a match I enjoyed with Roman and John Cena. I was really hoping it was going John Cena's way and breaking that championship run of Ric Flair, who's also disappeared from WWE since we last podcasted. But we had him return after WWE or SummerSlam went off the air. Cena got destroyed by Brock, so that's definitely like kind of writing him off for a while. And then we had tell us about the other return that we had on SummerSlam.
The highly questionable placement of a Becky Lynch return. She just ended up in a match against Bianca for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and she squashed the EST with 2 moves. The 3 count was longer than the match itself. It made me feel, even though it was Becky Lynch, it made me feel really uncomfortable. I don't know how they justified it to themselves. But yeah, that was real questionable. She's basically trounced the entire women's locker room, and then she gets a 2-second squash match. So like,
Yeah.
what do you do from here? And I have numerous times on the podcast through 2 seasons, I have had to say they did Kofi wrong. And now I have to say they did Bianca really, really dirty. It's starting to seem like a bit of a trend.
At least with like Eric Rowan at WrestleMania 32, at least he was a heel. Like that's I can appreciate a quick squash match like that where like some legend comes back or something like that and kind of obliterates a heel. Not a top heel, but like someone like Rowan at the time, like that was fine. But yeah, anytime you're doing your baby faces like this, especially your champion, like
Yeah, you
I
can't
don't know,
shit on a
man.
champion like this.
Yeah,
It sullies everything that you've presented. I mean, in a lot of ways, when they do this to the champs, it's the champions that have like carried the program for a couple of
yeah.
months. I mean, obviously Bianca hasn't carried SmackDown in the way Roman has, but like she's sort of carried that women's division since WrestleMania. Um, so it really was. It was super shitty to see them do that to her. I mean, like
And
Rowan getting squashed. Rowan didn't matter at the time. Like he's
yeah,
just like a pawn in the Wyatt family getting squashed. Nobody gives a shit. But I mean, this like Bianca was essentially like in a role model position, and you just had her get completely destroyed. I weird, questionable,
and they're
really
and they're
questionable.
they're really this kind of trying to. I mean, semi leaning into Becky being a heel, but not really. I don't know. Like she apologizes for nothing, but then also like, oh, I missed you guys and stuff. It just feels like kind of all over the place, and that's not what I want for Becky.
Well,
I want there to be some kind of clear direction, and really, I don't think it works to have her as a heel.
it's
So
going to be like it's reverse Charlotte Flair. Like you can
yeah,
never get her over. Charlotte can never get over as a face. She's always going to be Ric Flair's daughter. She's dirtiest player in the game, Junior. You are never going to get Becky Lynch over as a heel. I don't care
yeah,
if you put her somehow like through some random. I don't care if you find a weird birth certificate that says she's half Samoan and you pair her with Roman. You cannot pull off a heel turn for her because she's going to get like semi CM Punk pops every time her music hits. Like it
yeah,
just it doesn't work. So having her squash Bianca isn't going to get her any more heel cred than I mean, she could come out there and cut Bianca's braid off, and she's still going to get cheered. Like it,
yeah,
I don't, I don't. She's the wrong person to do this with. Like
yeah.
it's just never going to work.
I feel like yeah, with if we want to talk about that couple too, Becky always a face, Seth always a heel. Like he sucks as a face. Like so especially when he's trying to defend the WWE, it just doesn't work. You just feel like he feels like a big nerd, which I mean he probably is, but whatever. Um, so we got the tricky problem of NXT. So a lot have happened since we last podcasted. They've had more cuts, including my man Jake Atlas, is a lot of people. Mercedes Martinez, like I don't
The
know,
entire 205 live roster.
yeah, it's it's pretty. So NXT, as we know, is pretty much done. What final form that takes in a few weeks, we don't know, but we got a kind of a sneak peek of it yesterday, where gone is the medal and the little Ed Hardy logo, and now we got a paint and new style logo with hip hop, no metal. It kind of feels to me that they're acknowledging, or at least they're saying, "Hey, Triple H lost, so we're doing a completely different thing." Um, and no more young guy, or no more older guys, no more tiny guys. Just going to be big guys from now on. But you could say there's a certain degree of things where they just kind of been classifying people as indie workers and stuff before then. Like there was an interview with Jeff Cobb where he said that he went to for his tryout and they had everyone divided between indie workers and athletes. And this guy's former Olympian, and they put him in an indie worker just because he'd worked some matches before, which is just crazy. But I mean, like Jeff Cobb's a powerhouse. Like you don't do that. But
Yeah,
anyway,
outside of Big E, he may be the single strongest person I've ever seen perform live.
yeah, yeah. Tour of the Islands is no joke. Like it's like a much better version. What's that Baron Corbin finisher? It's like, kind of just like a better version of that, really.
The Deep Six.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think I don't know what do you think is going to happen here on NXT here pretty soon.
I think they're taking away everything that people had grown to really like about it. Um,
Mm,
I think that they're in their minds they think they need that they're going to turn it into broken football player meathead central, and try and turn it into a third main roster brand, and that's not what people were watching that for. um, Essentially they it was just a better produced indie show, and that's what people liked. um, I'm really curious to see how much longer Triple H and Shawn Michaels have anything to do with it.
mm,
um, because at this point, like if they don't have any sway in the talent itself, then what's the point in producing the shit? Um, I also, I texted you last night. I don't understand the like this weird sudden hip hop direction that they're taking with everything, like trying to get Nicki Minaj to be at SummerSlam and stuff. Um, Most meatheads that I've met, like they're all into EDM, so like there's no correlation between the hip hop and their new like the bar they've set for talent. So I don't get it. Um, I don't know. I think they're going to completely change it, and it's just going to feel like kind of half-assed. I almost think that it's going to end up turning into another main event type show where they have like two matches a week, and then it's just recap crap. Um,
yeah,
which USA is going to pull it off TV before too much longer anyway. Um,
yeah.
they're already pretty pissed about Fox getting all the big name talent. Um, I don't know. I mean that Jeff Cobb thing really sort of solidified that they have no idea what the hell they're doing with it now, and it's literally just going to be like uh, Baron Corbin's and Angelo Dawkins types that. I mean, I really love what Baron Corbin has become now, but
Yeah.
I mean it. You're not going to find that many like diamonds in the rough here. Um, I don't see it. Um, Roman had the dynasty, the legacy behind him. Like he was gonna be something. You're not gonna you're not gonna go to ex NFL players and find a Johnny Gargano, like, and
Yeah.
the crowd relates to a Johnny Gargano so much more than they do like a Baron Corbin. It I don't
Yeah.
know. It's weird to me that for as big as NXT managed to get with the indie vibe, that they would just turn on it because the ratings didn't support them like they thought
Yeah.
it would through the Wednesday night war. I mean, you had how many fucking people that had never watched New Japan owned Bullet Club shit. So
Yeah.
you put Bullet Club on TV, yeah, you're going to lose the ratings war for a little while. You got hardcore ass wrestling fans that see Chris Jericho's on TNT. They're going to turn that on instead of NXT. Like it was just going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, I really do. I think they're trying to go back to a 1980s well that Vince McMahon thinks is the answer, and it's not going to change anything. It's just going to make it worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I would love to see. I wish we could kind of jump in the future and see what this looks like 6 months from now. I mean, I think we're already going to know like 2 months from now what it's going to look like. Um, at least presentation and stuff. Like we may not see the results of their new recruiting for maybe 6 months, a year from now, because it's going to take a little while to get some of these people ready. Um, but yeah, it's a shame because it was a good show and it was better than, for the most part, I think SmackDown has really stepped it up, but it's better than a lot of the other WWE programming that they had. And kind of to see it just kind of them giving up because like they were losing the ratings war, but I feel like if you added in all the streaming, you added in the like DVR plus 3 or whatever like that, I'm sure it was still a pretty decent number. Like even if maybe AEW was still beating them, I feel like it was probably a lot closer than maybe people thought. Like, so I don't know. It's just a shame.
And
But I know, like, for them, it's just like, oh, we lost on the Nielsen thing, so it's like, let's like it was a failure. So that was the
and
public number.
and truthfully, at the end of the day, like USA was still happy with the ratings they were pulling.
Yeah.
Like you didn't, as long as you don't upset, what does John Oliver call him, business daddy? As long as you
Yeah.
don't upset business daddy, everything's fine. Like I don't get it. They paid out the ass for you to put NXT on TV. You only give them half the damn show each week anyway.
Yeah.
Like, and they were happy with it. I just I don't understand. I don't get it. I don't get it. And really, I'm really nervous to see if this rumored next round of cuts happens. Um, just how many of these remaining indie darlings don't have jobs, by the end of October? Because they're at this point, you got to figure they're holding on to some of them just to wait out the non-competes so that they can't be at, I don't know, whatever AEW's November show is. Um, I'm really worried that NXT is just going to become like Walter and Pete Dunne, and then just a sea of meatheads. Like,
Yeah. Well, it may not. We had Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly, the rubber match thing with in basically a 3 stages of hell match, where he had a regular match, a street fight, and a cage match, which I was kind of cool how they put it all together real quickly. Like they brought that cage down really fast, and especially because it had to be in like 4 sections that came down. But as we've learned recently, Adam Cole's contract expired last night, and there's no word whether or not he's re-signed with the company. But what would you do if you were Adam Cole? Where would you go?
I I think I'd go where I'm not just gonna, because either you stay and you're given false promises that you're going to get a title run on one of the main shows, because that's the only way they're going to pay you what you're going to make if you go to AEW.
Yeah,
Um, so you can hope beyond hope that they hold true to that, or you can look at Finn Balor as the pretty clear indicator of where that would end up. Um,
yeah,
or you go where you can work with, I mean, Kenny Omega's already teasing Adam Cole on his Instagram. Like those guys clearly want you there. So no, you may not. You may never get a title run if you go to AEW, because that roster is beyond overloaded. But you're going to get plenty of TV time. You're going to get to cut all the promos you want. And shit, if you're Adam Cole at this point, go to AEW just to get to do a promo battle with CM Punk.
yeah,
I mean, why the hell not? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't resign, especially you're watching all your friends get cut because they're not, 6'4" and taller and 265 or bigger. Um, I just the only thing that would keep me hanging on would be if it was the only way I got to keep doing up down down with Woods and Cesaro, but hell, they let Breeze keep doing it. So
yeah, yeah. It's an interesting time. Um, I I'm excited for the future of AEW. I'm a little worried, with these successive rounds of cuts. Is like there's. I think we're at the saturation point with AEW. Like even with this new Rampage show, like I think we're already there. Like we
yeah,
can't really fit anymore. The best hope at this point is you got the Forbidden Door thing. You can you can go to Impact, you can go to some of these other companies, and you can still show up in AEW. You still got a chance to like get over and maybe make your way to that contract. But I think Tony is. I mean, I can't imagine him adding too many more people to that roster.
I'm really excited by this new report that Impact is making a massive push to get Bray, Braun Strowman, and Buddy Murphy.
Mm.
I think the Impact roster in particular could use the influx of both name recognition and like some new faces. Because we've watched these last few pay per views, and I mean, there's a couple of guys that like stand out. Who's that? The X Division guy that wears the full wrestling
Josh
get up.
Alexander.
Yeah, he's a badass. Moose is awesome. But they could really benefit from shelling out some cash, making some more money on these, particularly on these Impact Plus shows. Um, and I feel like Impact it would be a hell of a showcase for Bray to get to do kind of all of his weird creative ideas. They let Broken Matt Hardy happen, so
Yeah.
I see them being probably best case scenario for him to get as much time as he wants, particularly with all they run like a 24-hour a day Twitch stream, so he could literally just like fill TV time all day long every day if he wants to. Um, I think that would be really awesome. Mostly, I like the idea of a Braun Strowman Moose match. That
Oh
would
man.
that would just be fantastic. Um, and then you get the Forbidden Door stuff, which is cool. Um, and I just want somebody to give Buddy Murphy a job. Um, put him in the X division.
Yeah.
Put him on Ring of Honor and let him just run wild against all the talent they've got right now. Somebody just if anybody that has any sway at these companies hears this, please just hire that man and let him do his thing. He's awesome. Um,
Yeah, and I'll just jump in one more too. Like Moose appreciation. I watched a couple of that last Impact pay per view, which I guess we would have talked about. I think on our last episode before we had our break. But Moose versus Chris Sabin was great. Loved it. I thought it was just a really well put together match. And then I actually went to a live show here in LA outside the Coliseum, and another kind of forbidden. We normally talk about the Forbidden Door in regards to AEW and about other companies working with AEW, but in this case, we had Ishii and Moose square off, and like I can just tell, like, I mean, not only was it just a big Haas fight, like two like real tough dudes just smacking the shit out of each other, but it's like Moose has a good mind for wrestling. I thought maybe this was that last match was put together by Sabin, but like Moose knows how to put together a great match, a really exciting match. He can do a match where there's a roll up finish, and like I hate it when they're doing it in WWE, but it works with Moose, especially with the Sabin thing, because it's like he's a much smaller dude. Like it makes sense as a finish there, but the way he builds heat, it's great. He's just extremely underrated,
yeah,
in my
he's
opinion.
he's awesome. I'm getting on the Moose train. He's pretty amazing. And that Sabin match, like you said, with Sabin being so much smaller, but Sabin needing to go over there. I mean, it's the believable finish, and I liked
Yeah.
that a lot. Yeah,
I would like to see, so just I don't know why I'm fantasy booking Moose now. Like, let's just become a fantasy book for Moose. But I want to see Moose show up in AEW, or Ricky Starks making his way down to Impact, or up to Impact, wherever it is they tape. And I want to see Moose challenge for that FTW belt. Like, for me, like, he's someone that actually deserves a shot at that particular belt. I think that'd be great.
yeah, he
Uh,
definitely fit in with Team Taz.
yeah. We got a advertisement for next week on Rampage, or for on Rampage. We got a advertisement for Dynamite, and they're building this Will Hobbs Brian Cage match. And honestly, I I'm looking at this match is like, this is gonna be, I don't know. To me, it seems like it'd be a pretty good match, and like they've got some, I would say on All Out, some okay matches, but like I saw that promo, I was like, man, this looks good. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, we've seen enough of Cage that we know he can put on a show. Hobbs has been kind of like he goes out and these quick little matches here and there, but he hasn't really done a ton. So this will be a good chance to see just how good Hobbs is. Um, Plus, they announced that Hook will be in his corner, so
Nice.
obviously it'll get the ratings will spike since the internet loves Hook.
Yeah. I don't know. He's pretty great. And it just blows my mind. It's like, that guy is like, came from Taz. Like, it just to me, they don't look at all like,
No,
but mainly because Taz's wife looks like a normal human being. So, yeah. Um, so let's wrap this up. What else are you looking forward to this coming up week?
um, I'm interested to see the whatever shady ending they come up with for Omega Christian Cage AEW title match. Um, I'm curious to see if I've only got to be patient for one more week to get the American Dragon, or if I've got to wait a little bit longer. Thanks for teasing me, CM Punk, because now it's all I can think about. Um, that I don't know. Was a little disappointed. Not to say I'm ever disappointed to get a Lucha Bros match, but I wanted Jurassic Express to get their big moment at All Out in the steel cage. Um, so that took a little bit out of that tag title match for me. But it is what it is. Curious to see how many Forbidden Door women might show up for the women's battle royal. Um, that that may be the most interesting thing for me right now is what they do with that, and lining up the next challenger for Britt Baker.
Yeah.
So that'll be good. Always excited to get Brian Cage TV time because he's awesome and doesn't get enough TV time because, like you said, super saturated roster.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to, and we'll see. Darby CM Punk should be great.
Yeah.
Should be really great. I mean, we all know who's going to get the win there, but they picked the right person for his first match because Darby will put on a show and doesn't lose anything eating a loss. So that works out really well. So that match should be great. It'll be a good week. Curious to see what they do with. I don't even know if I'm curious to see where WWE stuff's going. I don't know. We'll find out. Roman will keep killing it. Bobby Lashley will continue to be awesome. We'll see what they do to try and remedy some of the discomfort around this SmackDown Women's Championship thing.
Well, it'll be interesting. I'm sure. I don't know. I want to root for WWE because I want. I want all these companies to do well, and I want there to be lots of options and stuff like that. And even you could say like it sucks all these layoffs, and especially with NXT because it's reshaping what they're doing. But at least they're deciding on doing something. Because sometimes it kind of felt like they were just kind of treading water there.
Yeah.
And or maybe there wasn't a clear direction. I guess there was a article I think on Cage Side where they're talking about where the deferring things about whether it's developmental or whether it's the third brand, and now at least for the time being they're definitely deciding they're being more developmental, and that's a clear direction that they're doing. They're not kind of straddling both. So we'll see where it goes, and we'll catch you in a little bit on more. Yeah, man. So I was supposed to work on like ways to end this podcast while we were on a break, and I clearly didn't do that because I'm just kind of freewheeling here. Probably like the wedding toast I gave our friend Steven last week, where I just kind of like I literally said I'm losing the thread here.
I do before we cut, since we are talking about the massive week and a half of wrestling. one great match that I do have to recommend for anybody that's bared with us for 34 minutes and 39 seconds now. The United States Championship match from SummerSlam, Sheamus, Damian Priest. I do highly recommend watching that one. And then Rampage's match between Ty Conti and the Bunny was great as well. So if you want a couple of matches, if you want to skip through some shows so you can miss all the promo time that you don't care about and just watch good
Yeah.
wrestling, I highly recommend those two. They were both great.
And a little quick tip: if you're you Matt, you told me about this on the TNT app. If Excalibur is great on telling you about right about before they're going to go to a commercial break. If you pause and fast forward past that commercial break, it works really well. You don't have to watch commercials. It's great.
It'll save you 25 minutes on a Dynamite episode.
Yeah.
I have figured it up. It's those commercial breaks are about 3.5 minutes long on average, and there's 6 or 7 each episode. So yeah, you could save a ton of time listening to Excalibur's commentary and skipping commercials.
All right. Well, everyone take it easy, and we'll be back with more wrestling news or, I don't know, observations later this week.
Like, subscribe, ring the bell, do all that good stuff, internet world.
Yeah.